Everyone, welcome to our App Academy Day. So excited that you're here. I am your host, Amy Keenan from Insightful Accountant, here to host this webinar and introduce our amazing lineup today that we have. All right, I guess we will move on to, are you ready, Boris?
I sure am.
All right, we are going to have Boris talk about Intuit ProConnect Tax. So with that, we're going to launch this wonderful poll first before he kicks things off. So feel free to answer this wonderful question. Are you a tax practitioner or interested in expanding your practice to include tax preparation? I have worked for a company that did sales tax, and I can tell you I never would want to deal with tax.
Well, thank you.
Automation, whatever you can do to make it easy, right?
Absolutely.
And most of our audience are not tax I would say so far, all of our audience are not tax practitioners, just so you're aware.
I was prepared for that.
All right, so we will let you take it away.
Amy, can you see my screen well?
I can, looks great.
Terrific. Well, before you all hang up, once you see the word tax and after that glamorous description from Amy, I want to assure you that I am not going to bore you with the W-2s and 1040s and 1120s. I'm here to talk to you as an accountant who is a trusted professional and advisor to your clients, but as well as somebody who closely works with the tax pros. So I wanted to appeal to you as an accountant to help you understand of some of the tools and workflows that are available right now as part of our Intuit ecosystem for accountants that you may not be aware of. I'll start with the introduction. My name is Boris Schmuckler. I am a senior product manager with Intuit. I've been part of the Intuit now for 18 years, going on my 19th year. This is going to be my 24th tax season. So at some point, I guess next year, I might as well start calling myself as an industry veteran, but not until then. I would like to talk to you guys a little more about the industry insights, help you hopefully align on some of the firm priorities and actually confirm if those firm priorities are related to you, and then let you know what are some of the things that we at Intuit are doing for accountants between our integration from QuickBooks Online to ProConnect Tax. So without further ado, and not that Amy hasn't scared you off yet, but obviously there's been a tremendous amount of changes in our industry overall. And tax tends to be the very last industry to actually pivot to anything. And yet we are starting to see some of the cracks there. We're seeing a lot of CPAs reaching the retirement age. We see a significant decline in students going into accounting industry, and more importantly, after graduating with the accounting degree, getting into a tax industry. We also saw the remote work become such a prevalent part of our society, where in the past we used to joke about the shoebox. Now the shoebox is all digital, and it requires adaptation by our accountants to make sure that we stay compliant with data security, which has been a tremendous threat in our industry as well. And not to be forgotten, all the compliance, especially in the last 5 years, the amount of legislation and the amount of burden that was passed on our accountants has been overwhelming. Looking at the last 3, you can see why labor shortage is struggling out there. But I don't want to scare you off with this. To me, as someone who's been doing this for a number of years now, it presents a tremendous opportunity. And in fact, webinars like this is a sign of hope that publications like Insightful Accountant and others are still helping our industry bring the technology together. Thank you to Ben for GuideLife and their presentation. It's great to see the number of technology solutions growing in our market. And in some ways, all of those changes that you're seeing on the slide is what driving a lot of great innovation, great help that is coming to our accountants. So I, for one, is very optimistic. And to me, the technologies that you're seeing being presented in this webinar is exactly why we would see some resurgence in our accounting space when it comes to a newer generation, when they see some of the newer solutions and not some of the things that tax accountants had to, or regular accountants had to go through over the past 50 to 100 years. So firm goals and priorities based on that. No surprise, obviously hiring, training, retaining qualified staff, the succession planning as those subject matter experts who have put this foundation in place are retiring. Productivity is suffering as well, just because there's so many different workflows that are available right now, and how to manage them all. Growth doesn't necessarily mean the number of customers. It means it could be growth into a different line of work. Advisory has been piquing interest quite a bit in our industry, or it's growth in revenue, and maybe for some it's work-life balance. Actually, not sleeping in the office in April. That might be a goal as well. So what is it that we add into it, especially with the accountant's workflow, doing to help you with this? And I know you're going to look at this slide and you're going to see automation, collaboration, integration. All of those words existed for a number of years. But where I'm seeing a significant change in our industry is now that none of those are desktop applications that have been developed over the past 40 years, but it's the online integrations, online connections that are built as a platform to be integrated and collaborative with others. That's where we're seeing a lot of hope and a lot of development in our industry. So for tax pros, right, 66% of their time is spent on collecting and entering data. I bet you if you ask most of them, typewriting is not why they went to school. They love to solve big, important problems. They love to save their customers money. They love to be the advisor, not the typewriter out there. And that's why I wanted to highlight 3 things that we at Intuit ProConnect Tax are working through to help with this problem, as well as focus deeply on the QBOA trial balance. So on one side, the beauty of ProConnect Tax, or the beauty of being part of Intuit, is we have a #1 accounting product that is being used by over 90% of US businesses. And with that, with the adoption of the small businesses to QuickBooks, we see a tremendous amount of accountants willing and able to support those small businesses using QuickBooks Online, using QuickBooks Ledger, being part of the Pro Advisor certification programs, and tons of different solutions. And the way that integrates with your tax solution is one of the biggest advantages to you. So today I wanted to highlight just one feature, and that's prep for taxes. I'm sure it is, with all the technology that I just talked to, I'm sure there had to be a solution out there that solves this big, important problem well. Because I know just about every tax software out there and every accounting software out there aims to help you take the data out of bookkeeping and put it into your tax product. Fortunately for us, it as a native application to QBOA, being on the same platform, it gives us instant advantage in this front. And now that we are able to supplement some of this with additional integrations, it is putting much stronger incentive into using an online tax product for professionals than ever before. So now let me jump straight into QBOA. Please cross your fingers as this is a live demo. Amy, can you guys see my screen well?
Yes, it looks great.
Terrific. So hopefully this screen is very familiar to all of you. I am in the QBOA account, QuickBooks Accountant. So right now I am on the list of all of my clients. This list is actually shared across QBOA and ProConnect Tax. But in my case, I'm going to go into good old Larry Law Firm. I've been doing their taxes for quite a while, and they've been very good to me for this demo, so let's hope it's not gonna fail me now. So now I am, and you can see on the left-hand side, the change in the background. Now I am within the books for Larry Law Firm. Don't worry, this is a fake firm, and there's no PII information on this. You'll go to Prep for Taxes as part of your accountant's tool. You're still inside QBOA. So we have a whole area dedicated to a trial balance and Prep for Taxes exchange between bookkeepers and tax professionals. All of this is part of your QBOA. All of this is available to you as part of the QBOA setup. Where I would like to focus, the first three are primarily for accounting tools. This is where you make sure that you have everything done when it comes to closing your books for the year. If you have any documents that you want to upload for supplemental work papers. Here, if you need to make any last minute adjustments to your books. And then we're heading more into the tax territory. So as an accountant who is not doing taxes right now, you might ask me, so what? What do I have to do with this? Well, I'm sure there's a handoff that is taking place right now between the work that you're doing on your businesses for day-to-day bookkeeping versus the work that needs to be done to complete their business return or vice versa. So I'm sure you're already communicating with that tax professional, and most likely it's a lot of back and forth, in some ways very similar to what tax pros are experiencing with their taxpayers. What this tool allows you to do is to move the information from QBOA that contains already all of your data. So in this case, once I selected that I wanted it to go to ProConnect Tax, and I know that Larry, in fact, for this purpose, Larry is going to be using the 1065 tax return. So now that I know this, in the application, I pre-map as many fields as I can possibly map, knowing at 100% that that's exactly where it's going to go. Just because we know where it goes doesn't mean that that's where you want it to go. So even with pre-mapping, you still have an opportunity to say that billable expenses are not going to gross receipts. And indeed, they're going to returns and allowances and map it that way. So now it's going to be moving to another category. You also see out here that we found 9 accounts that we didn't know where to map. In cases for fixed assets, it's probably because your tax application is going to calculate your depreciation on the tax side. So they most likely didn't want it. So you can say either map it somewhere or keep it unmapped or just ignore it here. So if I am comfortable with everything else that I have in terms of assigning retained earnings, that's another category that most of you will not use in the tax return. So once you have all this information available and mapped, you can easily go into your tax options. Sorry, before I go into tax options, not only that, you can download the work papers pack and send that to your tax professional as well. But you also could go into tax options. And in my case, because Larry has done taxes with me before and I already have an existing return, I can update his existing return or I can create a new one. So just for a clean copy, I'll create a new one so you will see what it does. Now it opens ProConnect Tax. And it opens a similar screen to what you just saw in QuickBooks, but in the tax application. Why? Because one of the key learnings that we had, so Prep for Taxes is not a new application and it's not a new exchange, but it's something we're seeing higher and higher need in our community. And we are continuously investing and learning from our customer behaviors on how we need to evolve this. In this case, in the past, we would apply it directly to a tax return. And what we got is a bunch of tax pros who would start screaming at us saying, I wasn't ready for this information. I need to preview this information. I want to make sure that me and an accountant are on the same line, and we're actually thinking that returns and allowances is going to 1B. Because as you remember, I changed it to 1B, but initially it came in as line 1A map. So let's say as a tax accountant, I catch this error, I still have a chance to move it back and update it. I get a chance to preview all the changes that are coming in as part of this import. I can create tax adjustments and document tax adjustments. For example, I mentioned depreciation is one of the categories that is being calculated differently in your books versus your taxes. So if you want to make that tax adjustment here, or there might be an adjustment for meals and entertainment, where some of it's going to be used as 50% on the tax return, some of it may be not used at all. So this is where you would reflect some of those tax adjustments, or your tax pro will have a chance to reflect back on this. They will be able to modify some of these lines here, depending on the accounts that they want to have. And then the last thing I wanted to highlight before I bring this information in is you also get a chance to preview all of this before you apply. So in this case, for example, I have gross receipts right now at $693,800 coming into line 1A of Form 1065 of tax year 2023. Here's my 1065, 2023. I just brought in $693,800. You have $110,000 that is other income that is coming in from here. You'll recognize rent line 13. Here's your rent line 13 coming in at $60,000, and so on and so forth. So what would happen if I import it? Now let's take a look. So all the information that you just had a chance to preview is on the tax return. You go into your tax forms, you go into your 1065, and all this information that we just reviewed is here, as well as you can jump to input and see where this information is coming from. So that's the information that got imported into a tax return. What are the benefits of this? Well, obviously, time savings. And the second thing is accuracy. But to me, one of the things that I really love about this integration is how it keeps the accountant or bookkeeper on the same page with the tax pro. This way you can have all your work papers combined, so that if there's a bank requesting some of the paperwork and your bookkeeping files and your tax return looks slightly different, you actually get a chance to help them with the work papers to reconcile that the difference is, let's say, in the special depreciation that took place this year that you couldn't take advantage of with your bookkeeping. The other thing is, as we learn and develop constantly, you will have to map less and less items in between two applications. So it presents a digital data exchange that is secure, that is accurate, that presents an opportunity between both accountant and a tax professional to review the data that is coming in and confidently apply this information across. All of this is in service to automating more and more compliance work. As we mentioned, the work is changing. And the newer generation coming into our industry is having a very different expectation on what they expect out of our application, which is why having all of your tech stack being surrounded by an online newer solutions that integrate with each other, that communicate with each other, it will save you a tremendous time on the overhead. Remember, the 66% of the tax accountant time goes into actually collecting and manually entering this information. Imagine what you can do with the import of this information this flawlessly across multiple apps, and keeping the time that you have, whether it's to yourself or to advise your customers more. The other thing I wanted to highlight, now that we've imported this information, you can see on the dashboard whether or not the import was complete. How do I go back to that information that was was brought in. In this particular case, there have been updates in QuickBooks since your last review. So what we do is we give you this warning where you can preview them, you can apply them, or you can dismiss them. And for tax year 2024, we are looking to add an ability to pull information from your books directly from your tax application. So if you are working with a tax accountant, or you're looking to expand into a tax professional business, it's never been a better time, because in the past it's been all done by primarily a lot of older apps, really great apps, yet the apps that were designed in the 80s, 90s that are not necessarily nearly as adept to the online collaboration, for integration between multiple apps, for supplemental information going across, for your document management, for your practice management, for your client collaboration. So if you haven't considered, or if you would love to influence one of your tax professionals who are working with you on the tax application, I would love to challenge you to do so. I also would challenge you to actually go through this experience on your own. The great part about what I just demoed, none of this costs anything. So as long as you have a QBOA account, and as long as you already have a subscription from a customer on the QBOA within QBO, you can bring this information similarly to what I just showed without needing to buy anything in your tax application. The way ProConnect Tax is working is you buy credit per credit, so you can buy as many as one, and as many as we have a firm doing at least 10,000 returns in our application. So as you can tell, it's a pretty robust product that is ready to handle some significant and sophisticated tax returns. To provide some hope to accountants of today that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and the applications are changing. You no longer have to stare at this boring gray background and the text from the 90s. I grew up on those apps, so they're near and dear to my heart, but I can tell, I have young kids, I can tell you that when they look at those applications, the glare that I get. All right. Well, if you have any additional questions, we're going to be following up with our resource link, as well as some of the training that is available for you, for your firm, as well as for your tax professionals. Thank you very much for attending this webinar. You are exactly why we do this, and I really appreciate the Insightful Accountant for helping us facilitate this type of information to our accountants, and look forward to seeing you at one of the trade shows.
Thank you. And we do have a comment for you.
Oh.
Not a question, but thank you for demonstrating the prep for taxes area. There are definitely features that I will explore.
That is great. Thank you.
And thank you for your information. Thank you. So there are people out there. Just want to make sure you're all listening and tuning in. And again, feel free to ask questions while they're here, because this is the best time to ask them to get their undivided attention. Of course, if you do have questions afterwards, we will certainly provide their contact information, the recording email, so you can reach out to them as well. But thank you for at least giving us some insights that you all are listening and enjoying what we have so far. So thank you. So yeah, if you do have any other questions, we will put the contact information. We'll have all this information in the recording email for you when we do send it out. But as I mentioned, thank you so much for joining us today for our App Academy. Thank you for all of our presenters for being here, sharing their great solutions, how they can help automate, streamline, make things easier for you. We do truly appreciate you being part of App Academy. So thank you everyone for being here, and I hope to see you again soon.